She called it restructuring for the future. 17 years ago, none of that mattered. We were in a converted machine shop on the outskirts of Akron, Ohio. 3 welding stations for 5 guys, coffee that could strip paint, fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry wasps, and a break room with a card table and folding chairs. But I had something real, a concept that could revolutionize automotive parts manufacturing. I'm Russell Pierce, 53 years old, and I still remember the smell. Motor oil, grinding dust, and raw determination. My first working prototype was cobbled together from salvage yard parts and a MIG welder I'd bought at a police auction. It sparked, it rattled, it worked. That became patent number 1, then 2, then 6. By year 8, I'd filed 25, all under American Machine Works, all listing me, Russell Pierce, as original inventor. That detail would become everything. Eventually, they gave me a title, Senior Innovation Director. No corner office, no executive parking spot, just a laminated badge, and enough freedom to keep building what made the company viable. My automated systems generated real revenue. Licensing deals started small, local suppliers in Cleveland, Toledo, then Ford, GM, and Chrysler came knocking with government defense contracts following close behind. By year 11, we were in a glass office complex in downtown Akron with a cafeteria that served actual food instead of vending machine sandwiches. 285 employees, most of whom never saw the machine shop days. Half the workforce was UAW Local 856, good union guys who understood the value of building things that lasted. I stayed focused. Give me a lab, a budget, and space to work, and I delivered. Patent 16 cut tooling costs by 28% across entire assembly lines. Patent 21 redefined precision stamping for automotive body panels. Patent 24, the masterpiece, was a real-time quality control system that caught defects before they left the station, eliminating costly recalls. It brought in $285 million in 18 months. Industry magazines called it revolutionary. I called it Tuesday. I wasn't flashy. No LinkedIn posts, no conference speaking circuits. Some weeks I wore the same flannel shirt 3 days running. But I was the foundation. Evident in how people acted during emergencies, how legal double-checked every filing, how acquisition offers always included ironclad clauses protecting my innovations. Because here's what they don't teach at business school. Without real innovation, you're just a middleman burning someone else's money. I kept the lights on. They built an empire on my patents. And I never missed a deadline, not once in 17 years. Everything I built was documented, defensible, and built to outlast corporate reshuffles. The union guys respected that. They'd seen too many companies sell out their workers after some MBA promised to optimize efficiency through strategic right-sizing. If you're wondering where this goes, buckle up. Because what happened next changed everything. I should have seen the warning signs. Aggressive expansion into non-automotive sectors. Sleek new logo that looked like it belonged on a tech startup. Familiar faces from production disappearing during voluntary restructuring, longer board meetings behind closed doors, and legal reviews that suddenly took weeks instead of days. In the shuffle, people forget, or pretend to forget, who built the engine that powers everything. Back then, I felt pride. Pride that something I'd designed in a drafty machine shop now employed nearly 300 people and supported their families. I never wanted to own the company, just build meaningful things and collect a decent paycheck. That mindset was my first catastrophic mistake. I knew everything had shifted the moment Stephanie Morrison walked through our doors. Power suit that cost more than most guys here made in a month. Heels that clicked against concrete floors like a metronome, counting down to something final. The production floor went quiet when she passed. Not respectful quiet, nervous quiet. She found me recalibrating a CNC machine that had been acting up since the night shift. Real work, the kind that keeps million-dollar contracts flowing. She smiled like she was selling something. Russell, right? I've heard incredible things about your contributions here. Contributions. Like 17 years of innovation could be reduced to line items on a performance review. She'd been brought in as Chief Operating Officer to streamline operational paradigms and optimize value creation protocols. Translation, figure out how to squeeze more profit out of what we'd already built, probably to make the company attractive for acquisition. Her resume was impressive if you liked buzzwords. MBA from Wharton, consulting experience with 3 Fortune 500 companies, expertise in digital transformation and agile methodologies, zero experience actually making anything real. She came from the world of PowerPoint presentations and quarterly projections. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. First week, she scheduled one-on-ones with department heads to align our strategic vision going forward. When my turn came, she asked if we could gamify the innovation process to drive engagement metrics. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Week 2 brought efficiency audits and resource optimization reviews. My R&D budget got slashed 65%, labeled as legacy spending reallocation toward market-responsive initiatives. When I asked my immediate supervisor, suddenly uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact, whether anyone had explained to Stephanie that prototype development requires actual funding, he shrugged and suggested I work with what you've got for now. Within a month, 2 of my best engineers were transferred to something called the Innovation Accelerator, run by a 28-year-old consultant who used phrases like fail fast, iterate faster without understanding that precision manufacturing doesn't work that way. You can't iterate your way through metallurgy. Physics doesn't care about your sprint reviews. No warning, no discussion. I showed up Monday morning to find their workstations cleared out, their ongoing projects reassigned to people who didn't understand the underlying systems. That's when I started keeping records. Every email, every directive, every budget cut. I wasn't angry yet, just alert, like when you're working on a machine and hear a sound that doesn't belong. Something's about to break, but you need to figure out what before everything seizes up. The real wake-up call came during our quarterly presentation to the board. I'd submitted my usual comprehensive technical report on patent number 28, an adaptive welding system that could adjust parameters in real time, reducing defects by 19% while cutting energy consumption. Instead of using my detailed technical analysis, Stephanie had prepared her own presentation. Glossy slides filled with stock photos of gleaming factories and corporate buzzwords like synergistic integration and next-generation manufacturing solutions. My adaptive welding system was rebranded as the SmartWeld Enterprise platform, with Stephanie's headshot prominently featured on the title slide, like she'd invented arc welding during a weekend retreat. I sat in the back corner, nursing coffee that had gone cold an hour earlier. Didn't interrupt, just watched her perform for the board, turning my 18 months of engineering work into a sales pitch that could have been selling software or breakfast cereal. The technical details were buried under layers of marketing speak that meant nothing to anyone who'd ever actually operated a welding torch. The worst part wasn't the credit theft. It was how easily the board bought it. They didn't care who solved the problem, just that the quarterly numbers looked impressive and the presentation had enough corporate polish to justify their confidence in the new leadership structure. Some people noticed. A few of the older engineers caught my eye and shook their heads. Jimmy Kowalski from the UAW Steward Committee left a note on my workbench. They're playing games with the wrong guy. I folded it up and kept it. By month 4, I was systematically excluded from my own projects. I'd walk past conference rooms and see Stephanie presenting my innovations to potential investors, laughing and gesturing like this was all just entertainment. For her, maybe it was, another consulting engagement with a clear exit strategy. But for me, American Machine Works wasn't a portfolio company or a case study. It was 17 years of my life, the place where I'd learned that you could take an idea from a napkin sketch to something that changed how things got built. The union guys understood that. They'd seen plenty of MBAs come and go, promising efficiency improvements that usually meant layoffs and benefit cuts. I could have made noise, demanded recognition, filed grievances through HR, but I didn't, not yet. Because Stephanie thought she was winning, and I needed her to stay overconfident. Let her assume I was just another aging engineer, too set in my ways to adapt to modern business practices. Let her think I'd fade away quietly when the next round of voluntary separations came around. She was writing her success story. I was preparing my response. The execution came during the monthly board meeting, perfectly orchestrated for maximum impact. Stephanie didn't just want me gone, she wanted to send a message to anyone else who might question her authority. The boardroom had been upgraded since the machine shop days. Real mahogany table, executive chairs that cost more than most people's monthly rent, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Akron. The board members sat scattered around like shareholders at a hostile takeover meeting, half of them checking phones, the rest pretending to review quarterly projections. Stephanie stood at the head of the table like a prosecutor addressing a jury, wearing a smile that never touched her eyes. Behind her, someone had set up an industrial paper shredder, the kind we used in manufacturing for destroying defective documentation. Before we review Q3 performance metrics, she began, holding up a manila folder with theatrical precision, I need to address some legacy operational inefficiencies. She pulled out my original contract. My contract, the one I'd signed in the machine shop break room 17 years ago when American Machine Works was 5 guys with a dream and a small business administration loan. I recognized the coffee stain on the corner where I'd set my mug down while reading through the intellectual property clauses. That document had been scanned, digitized, and backed up across multiple systems. Seeing the physical copy in her hands made something cold settle in my stomach. This represents the old way of doing business, Stephanie announced, waving the contract like evidence in a court case. But we're not that company anymore. We're building for the future, not maintaining the past. Then she fed it into the shredder, not symbolically, literally. Page by page, maintaining eye contact the entire time. The machine ground through 17 years of legal protection while the board watched in silence. Every few seconds, she'd pause dramatically, like she was savoring the moment. Russell, you've been a valuable contributor, she said, using past tense like I was already gone. But innovation requires fresh thinking, agile mindsets, people who understand market velocity instead of clinging to legacy processes. The shredder kept grinding. The room filled with the mechanical sound of my career being processed into confetti. We appreciate everything you've built here, she continued, adding air quotes around built like she was humoring a child's imaginary friend. But effective immediately, your position has been eliminated as part of our organizational optimization initiative. Fired. No severance discussion, no transition period, no acknowledgement of 17 years building the technology that kept the lights on. Just public execution by office equipment, delivered with corporate speak, and a boardroom full of witnesses who suddenly found their tablets very interesting. The board didn't applaud, but a couple of them nodded approvingly, like they'd just watched a particularly effective cost-cutting demonstration. One member, a guy I'd worked with during a critical DoD contract review years earlier, glanced at me briefly, then looked away like he'd witnessed something embarrassing. I didn't react, didn't argue, didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. Just sat there calculating, processing, planning. Because what Stephanie didn't know, what none of them understood, was that the paper she'd just destroyed was meaningless. The real contract, the one with the buried clause that would change everything, existed somewhere else entirely. Protected, notarized, and completely beyond her reach. I stood up slowly, straightened my shirt like I wasn't mentally reviewing 17 different legal strategies, and said the only words I spoke that entire day. Understood. Then I walked out. No speeches, no threats, no dramatic exits. Just one last look at the shredder, still humming behind Stephanie, like it hadn't just made the biggest mistake of her professional life. She thought I'd leave broken, maybe stick around town long enough to collect unemployment and warn other companies about the difficult transition at American Machine Works. What she didn't understand was that I didn't need their validation anymore. I had insurance, and the clock had just started ticking. It started in year 5, back when American Machine Works was still operating out of the converted machine shop and couldn't afford the kind of legal representation that comes with downtown addresses and marble lobbies. We just landed our first major contract. A mid-tier supplier in Detroit wanted to license my 4th patent for precision stamping technology. Nothing groundbreaking, but it came with strict requirements: documented ownership, clean legal trails, and ironclad intellectual property protection. That's when we discovered our vulnerability. The original IP clauses in my employment contract were garbage, vague language that a first-year law student could drive a truck through. We were one lawsuit away from losing everything I'd built. I realized I needed protection that didn't depend on the company's lawyers or their shifting priorities. So I hired my own attorney, paid for it myself. His name was Lance Brooks, and he worked out of a strip mall office between a tax preparation service and a Chinese takeout place. Looked like someone's uncle who'd accidentally wandered into law school, but Lance was precise as a machinist's caliper. We met every Tuesday at Mickey's Diner on East Market Street, same booth by the window. Always ordered the same thing: eggs over easy, wheat toast, black coffee strong enough to dissolve metal shavings. While I ate, Lance dissected my employment contract like he was performing surgery. "This thing's held together with hope and good intentions," he said, tapping the original document with his pen. "One bad day and you lose everything." So we rewrote it. Every clause, every subsection, every semicolon. Buried deep in Section 6, under intellectual property rights and breach conditions, we crafted what Lance called the nuclear option. He explained it simply. If they terminate you following proper procedures, they keep the patents. But if they breach any provision of this contract, any termination protocol, any notification requirement, anything, all intellectual property credited to you reverts completely. No licensing fees, no shared ownership. You get everything. We didn't just write it down on paper. Lance had connections with one of the early blockchain documentation services, the kind that creates tamper-proof digital records with GPS coordinates and biometric verification. That contract lived on 4 servers across 2 continents, plus encrypted backups in Lance's fireproof safe and a safety deposit box in Cleveland. Once we filed it, we never discussed it again. It was insurance, silent, invisible, waiting. Over the years, as American Machine Works grew and evolved, new leadership brought new employment agreements, sophisticated HR systems, digital onboarding platforms, contracts buried under dozens of screens requiring electronic signatures. But I never signed the new versions. My original contract remained in effect, and legal always backed down when I mentioned it. Even when Stephanie arrived and started her efficiency campaigns, I stayed quiet. Watched her reorganize departments, eliminate redundant positions, and implement her strategic optimization protocols. All while I sat 3 moves ahead, holding documentation that could dismantle her entire power structure. Because contracts aren't just paperwork, they're leverage. And mine was a precision instrument built for exactly this moment. Every patent I'd developed, the stamping systems, the quality control algorithms, the adaptive welding platforms, was registered with me as primary inventor. The company held licensing rights, conditional licensing, dependent on maintaining their end of my employment agreement. And Stephanie, with her expensive consulting background and theatrical confidence, had just publicly violated the termination procedures outlined in Section 6 by shredding my contract without following proper notification protocols. Breach documented, witnessed by 12 board members. I called Lance that evening, told him exactly what had happened. He didn't respond immediately, just sipped his coffee, probably his 4th pot of the day, knowing Lance, then made a sound like air leaking from a tire. "Well, Russell," he said quietly, "looks like it's time to activate the nuclear option." Next morning, Lance filed the breach notification with certified timestamps, attached the original blockchain-verified contract, the reversion clause documentation, and a detailed compliance audit showing exactly how they'd violated proper termination procedures. We didn't send it to Stephanie first. We sent it directly to American Machine Works' legal department, just to watch the panic spread quietly before going external. Then we copied their outside counsel, Henderson and Associates, a Cleveland firm that specializes in intellectual property litigation worth 8 figures. The response came in less than 24 hours. Not aggressive, not dismissive, nervous. They requested immediate clarification, wanted to schedule emergency meetings, asked for time to review the relevant documentation. Lance replied with a single PDF attachment. Clean, simple, undeniable. Section 6, subsection D. In the event of employee termination deemed to violate established contractual procedures, all registered patents credited to said employee shall immediately revert to the original inventor with complete rights of use, licensing, and commercial transfer without financial obligation to the former employer. Below that, blockchain verification codes, GPS coordinates, biometric authentication, and enough digital signatures to satisfy a federal court. The silence that followed wasn't confusion. It was the sound of expensive lawyers realizing their client had just detonated their own foundation. They tried damage control immediately. 3 days after Lance filed the breach notice, American Machine Works issued a press release about continued operational excellence and seamless leadership transitions. Corporate speak designed to reassure investors while avoiding any mention of intellectual property disputes. I read it over breakfast. Same eggs, same toast, same black coffee. My phone buzzed with a text from Lance. "They're hoping you'll negotiate before this goes public." I wasn't negotiating. I was waiting. Inside American Machine Works, the chaos was already spreading. Production systems depended on software modules tied directly to my recent innovations. Quality Control Protocol 19, the system that prevented defective parts from reaching final assembly, required authorization codes only I possessed. They'd never change them because no one imagined I'd ever leave voluntarily. They attempted to bypass the system. The workaround failed spectacularly, triggering automatic safety shutdowns across 2 production lines. 12 hours of downtime at $34,000 per hour in lost productivity, plus penalty clauses with Ford for delayed shipments. That got attention real fast. Then the licensing audits began. Our primary client in Germany sent urgent notifications about compliance requirements for technology derived from Patent 21. The licensing agreement required ongoing certification from the original patent holder, me, to maintain manufacturing authorization under ISO standards. No certification meant no compliance. No compliance meant no shipments to European automotive markets worth $40 million annually. Their legal team sent desperate requests for confirmation. The emails came directly to my personal address, not through company channels. They needed me to sign off on continued operations. I didn't respond. Not yet. Meanwhile, Stephanie continued her performance, company-wide meetings about exciting new opportunities and strategic market positioning. But internal communications told a different story. Engineers were texting me late at night. "Is it true you're gone? They're saying everything's normal, but the systems keep crashing." Legal attempted to respond to our breach notification with carefully worded corporate language. We dispute the interpretation of relevant contractual clauses and maintain that termination procedures were conducted within established company policy. No mention of the shredder, no acknowledgement of the boardroom theater, just passive voice deflection designed to avoid liability. Lance sent a second notice. This time we included not just the original contract, but complete metadata from the blockchain verification system, a comprehensive list of all 28 affected patents, and a footnote mentioning we'd initiated preliminary discussions with 2 federal compliance auditors. That's when their communications stopped entirely. Outwardly, they maintained their facade of business as usual, but internally you could feel the structure cracking. Word travels fast in manufacturing circles, especially in Ohio where everyone knows everyone. The scent of weakness had gone airborne. First, a competing automotive supplier in Toledo called, wanting to discuss potential collaboration opportunities. Then a private equity group from Chicago contacted Lance directly, asking whether my patent portfolio was currently encumbered by existing agreements. A German manufacturing conglomerate, the same one having compliance issues with Patent 21, offered me a consulting position with a 7-figure signing bonus if I could bring my expertise with me. Nobody was being subtle anymore. I let the offers accumulate while American Machine Works flailed behind closed doors. Every day they delayed strengthened my position. Every hour of production downtime, every compliance violation notice widened the cracks in their foundation. One of their VPs finally called my cell phone directly, wanted to clarify the scope of this misunderstanding. I told him to direct all inquiries through Lance, then asked about his son's baseball season, just to remind him that behind all the corporate maneuvering were real people whose livelihoods depended on keeping the machines running. He sounded exhausted, genuinely worn down. I almost felt bad. Almost. Because American Machine Works kept operating like they could wish me out of existence, like they could fire the architect and still occupy the building without paying rent. What they hadn't grasped yet was that the deed had my name on it. The final notice arrived in their email systems at 9:15 a.m. on a Wednesday. That's when corporate confidence usually peaks, middle of the week, after the Monday panic has settled, but before Friday's reality check sets in. Subject line, final notice, patent reversion activation and demand for immediate compliance. Lance's email was surgical precision wrapped in legal language. A comprehensive package including breach documentation, blockchain-verified contract authentication, clause-by-clause analysis of their procedural violations, and a complete inventory of all 28 patents with current market valuations and licensing dependencies. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a legal demolition. Stephanie's response took 4 hours. This appears to be an attempt to extort the company through frivolous legal claims. We maintain full confidence in our legal position and will not be intimidated by baseless threats. I read it while finishing lunch at Mickey's Diner, same booth where Lance and I had planned this years earlier, smiled slightly. Lance didn't reply to Stephanie directly. He forwarded everything to Henderson and Associates with a cover note requesting expedited review for federal intellectual property violation proceedings. That changed the entire dynamic. Corporate lawyers are defensive players. Their job is delay and deflection. But once federal IP litigation gets mentioned, especially involving patents worth hundreds of millions, the game shifts to offense. Fast. 6 hours later, we got a call from someone named Bryce Sullivan, senior partner at Henderson & Associates, the kind of firm that handles lawsuits large enough to crater stock prices. His voice was controlled, professional, and deeply concerned. "I've reviewed your documentation. The reversion clause appears legally enforceable under Ohio employment law." Lance kept it simple. "Yes, it is." Long pause, then, "This wasn't disclosed during our client review process." I imagine Stephanie at that moment, probably in her corner office with the ergonomic chair and city view, explaining to the board how this was all just disgruntled employee posturing right up until Bryce forwarded her our documentation package. I know exactly when it hit her. Probably opened the PDF with casual confidence, scrolled through expecting typical legal bluster, until she reached Section 6, subsection D. In the event of employee termination conducted in violation of established contractual procedures, all registered intellectual property credited to said employee shall immediately and completely revert to the original inventor, free of all encumbrances, licensing obligations, or financial considerations. Not hidden, not ambiguous, just cold legal reality. We didn't hear from Stephanie after that. But suddenly the tone of all communications changed. Legal wanted to explore resolution frameworks and discuss mutually beneficial arrangements. Too late for diplomatic language. By week's end, American Machine Works had suspended operations on 6 production lines pending intellectual property clarification. The German automotive contract was officially under review. Internal emails leaked through sympathetic engineers showed complete confusion about which systems they could legally operate. Jimmy Kowalski from the union sent me a text. She called an emergency meeting today. Looked like she'd been crying. Beautiful. Stephanie attempted damage control during the next all-hands meeting. "Certain former employees are pursuing unfounded legal actions," she announced, voice shaking slightly. "We remain confident in our full ownership of all company assets and technologies." But her voice cracked on confident, and the Q&A session ended after 3 questions when someone from the engineering team asked directly, "Do we actually own the patents that run our production systems?" The feeding frenzy intensified. By Friday, I had 12 formal offers ranging from licensing deals to complete acquisition. One aerospace contractor offered $22 million upfront for exclusive rights to the quality control systems. Another wanted to hire me as chief technology officer with equity that would vest immediately. Lance spread the offers across Mickey's diner table like a winning poker hand. "You know, if we play this right, you'll never punch a time clock again." I laughed. Not because he was wrong, but because I finally understood what had really happened. They hadn't just fired me, they'd liberated me, and now I got to choose who paid for the privilege of using what I'd built. I didn't dress up for the final meeting. Same work clothes, same steel-toed boots, same flannel shirt I'd worn in the machine shop. If they wanted to see the ghost of their mistakes, I'd look like myself. The boardroom felt smaller than before. Stephanie was already there with 3 lawyers I didn't recognize, stacks of documents, and the hollow-eyed look of someone who'd been living on coffee and desperation. "Russell," she said, attempting a professional smile, "I think we can resolve this misunderstanding." I didn't sit down, just placed my leather portfolio on the polished table and opened it to reveal 2 documents. One labeled Licensing Agreement, American Machine Works, the other Patent Transfer Notice, Alternative Buyers. 2 options, I said calmly. License the patents back at market rates under my terms, or I complete the sale to one of your competitors. Some offers are from companies you've spent years trying to outbid. The room went dead silent. One of the lawyers leaned forward. "We'd need time to review." "No more time," I interrupted gently. "You had 17 years to treat this properly. You had weeks after the breach notice. You've had every opportunity to handle this professionally." I looked directly at Stephanie. "Now you get to live with the consequences." She tried one last play. "You're holding the company hostage." "No," I said, smiling for the first time in months. "I'm collecting on what I'm owed. The alternative is explaining to shareholders why your core technology now belongs to the guy you humiliated in front of the board." 47 minutes later, they handed me a signed licensing agreement. $4.8 million immediate payment, 20% annual royalties on all products using my patents, 6-year term with automatic renewal clauses. Lance didn't smile when I called him, just said, "About damn time." I asked if he wanted to celebrate with coffee or something stronger. He said both. By evening, the money was in my account. I checked once, confirmed the transfer, then drove north to a cabin I'd been eyeing for years. Cedar and stone, 40 acres of woods, no neighbors for miles. I sat on the empty porch with a beer and watched the sun set behind trees that had been growing since before American Machine Works existed. Complete quiet except for wind and water. That was the real victory. Not the money, not the contract. This silence, this freedom. Stephanie kept her job, but every quarterly report from now on would carry a footnote about licensing fees paid to former personnel. Every board meeting would include line items crediting the man they'd tried to erase. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Tomorrow I'd review the other offers, maybe accept a consulting gig, maybe just fish for a while. But tonight, I was just Russell Pierce, not an employee, not someone else's asset, just a guy who built something real and got to keep it. Patent by patent, clause by clause, victory by patient, methodical victory. They thought contracts were just paperwork, but I knew they were insurance policies written in patience. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting everything. Thanks for listening.